Prologue, the prophecy spoken. 300 years before my birth. In the temple of the first light, when Ashara was young and the gods still walked among mortals, the high priestess Zara fell into a trance during the festival of dawn. Her eyes turned white as milk, and her voice, no longer her own, echoed through the sacred halls. "Hear me, children of Ashara," she spoke with the voice of the gods themselves. "A day will come when darkness falls upon this blessed land. Fire will consume your homes. Blood will stain your sacred earth. Your people will be scattered like seeds upon the wind. But from those scattered seeds, one will grow, born in peace, forged in suffering. She will not seek power, yet power will seek her. She will not desire the crown, yet the crown will be hers by divine right. When all seems lost, when the wicked ruler's hand closes around your throat, when the minds of your fathers are stolen and your children sold into chains, she will rise. Marked by the gods, bearing our power in mortal flesh, she will lead the remnant from ashes to glory. Kingdoms will fall before her justice. The proud will be brought low, and from the ruins of what was destroyed, she will build something greater than what came before. This is the covenant. Ashara will fall, but Ashara will rise again. And the chosen will be her crown." The priestess collapsed. When she woke, she remembered nothing. But the words were carved into stone and hidden in the deepest chamber of the temple, where only the elders knew to look. For 300 years we prospered. For 300 years we forgot. Until the day the prophecy came for me. Part 1. The day everything burned. I was 18 years old the day my world ended. That morning, I stood at the well in the center of our village square, drawing water for my family's morning meal. The sun rose over Ashara the way it always did, painting our clay houses in shades of amber and gold. I was nobody special, just a girl with steady hands and a quiet life. Or so I thought. The peace shattered with the thunder of hooves. "They're coming! King Vortan's army!" Our watchman's cry tore through the morning air before an arrow silenced him forever. I dropped my water jug. It shattered on the stone, water spreading across the ground like blood, though soon enough there would be real blood. From the eastern hills, I saw them coming, a black wave of soldiers, hundreds of them, bearing the crimson banner of King Vortan. He had demanded our sacred mines as tribute. Our elders had refused him. "These mines are blessed by the gods," they told his emissary. "They belong to our people and our people alone. We will not trade our divine inheritance for false peace." Now we would pay the price for that defiance. I watched as chaos erupted around me. Soldiers poured into our village like locusts, their swords flashing in the sunlight. My father pushed me toward our home. "Run. Hide." But before I could move, a soldier struck him down before my eyes. "No!" I screamed, but my voice was lost in the chaos. Fire bloomed across the thatched roofs. Smoke choked the air. I watched neighbors I had known all my life fall beneath the swords of Vortan's men. Children were torn from their mothers' arms. The elderly were cut down without mercy. Those who survived were bound in chains, herded like cattle toward waiting cages. I ran. My feet carried me through streets I had walked my entire life, now transformed into corridors of nightmare. I stumbled over bodies, people I knew, people I loved. Behind me, I heard the cries of those being enslaved, the crackling of flames consuming everything I had ever known. At the northern edge of the village, I found a handful of survivors gathering in the sacred grove. Perhaps 20 people, maybe less. Elder McKenna was there, bloodied but alive. There were young children clinging to anyone who would hold them, warriors too injured to fight, but not yet ready to die. "We must go deeper into the forest," Elder McKenna gasped. "It's our only chance." As we fled, I looked back one last time. Ashara burned. The screams of my people echoed in my ears. And something inside me, something I had never felt before, began to stir like a beast waking from a long sleep. Part 2. Learning to survive. We wandered for 3 days through the dense forest. We drank from streams and ate whatever roots and berries we could find. Disease and despair claimed 3 more of us before we reached a hidden valley, sheltered by mountains on 3 sides. Here, Elder McKenna declared, her voice weak but determined. Here we will rebuild. I almost laughed. Rebuild? There were only 17 of us left, 12 adults and 5 children. Every task felt impossible. But what choice did we have? We built crude shelters from branches and mud. We hunted with sharpened sticks. We planted seeds we had carried in our pockets, though it would be months before any harvest came. I worked until my hands bled. I worked until exhaustion claimed me each night. But the work couldn't silence the screams I still heard in my dreams, couldn't wash away the image of my father falling. One night, as I kept watch by the fire, Elder McKenna sat beside me. You carry a great weight, child.
We all do, I replied. Yes.
But yours is different. Her eyes glinted in the firelight. Tell me, have you noticed anything unusual about yourself? I hesitated. There had been moments, small things I had tried to dismiss. The crops I tended grew faster than others. When I touched a child's wound while cleaning it, the bleeding stopped almost instantly. Once, when a branch had fallen toward young Keto, I had shouted and thrust out my hand, and the branch had stopped midair, as if held by invisible hands, before falling harmlessly to the side. I don't know what you mean, I lied. McKenna smiled sadly. The gods have marked you, Amara. There was a prophecy, known only to the elders. We were told that when Ashara faced its darkest hour, one would rise among us, born of our people but touched by divine power. One who would restore what was lost and bring justice to those who destroyed us. That's not me. I'm nobody. The gods rarely choose those who seek power. They choose those who will use it wisely. She placed her weathered hand on my shoulder. Whether you accept it or not, your people will need you. King Vortan will not stop with Ashara. He will not rest until he has consumed every free kingdom in his path. I stared into the fire, feeling the weight of words I wasn't ready to hear. Part 3. Becoming who I was meant to be. 3 years passed. Our settlement in the hidden valley grew from crude shelters to proper homes. Other refugees found their way to us, survivors from other villages Vortan had destroyed, wanderers seeking safety, families fleeing the tyrant's expanding reach. We went from 17 to 50, then 100, then 200. And with each new arrival came stories of Vortan's cruelty. He had enslaved thousands, worked them to death in the very mines he had coveted from us. He had executed anyone who spoke against him. His armies marched across the land, leaving destruction in their wake. I was 21 when Elder McKenna died. Before she passed, she revealed the full prophecy to our people. When Ashara falls and rises again, the chosen shall lead the remnant to reclaim what was stolen. She shall bear the power of the gods themselves, and kingdoms shall tremble before her justice. At first, I rejected it. I didn't want this burden. But I could no longer deny what I was becoming. My powers had grown. I could heal the sick with a touch. I could make crops flourish with a whispered prayer. In moments of danger, I could move objects with my will, could strike down threats with energy that flowed from my hands like lightning. The people began to call me the Chosen of Ashara. I hated that name, but I couldn't deny what it meant. One evening, everything changed. A messenger arrived, a young man, half dead from exhaustion, bearing news that made my blood run cold. Vortan knows you exist. He's learned of this settlement. He's coming with his army, not to enslave, but to destroy completely. He fears you. Panic erupted. Some wanted to flee deeper into the wilderness. Others wanted to surrender. But as I stood there, listening to their fear, something inside me hardened into steel. I stood before them, and my voice carried an authority I had once lacked. We are not the same people who were slaughtered 3 years ago. We are stronger. We are united. And we will not run anymore. I paused, feeling the weight of what I was about to say. King Vortan took everything from us, our homes, our families, our dignity. Now we will take something from him, his crown, his power, and his life. A roar of approval rose from the crowd. But we cannot do this alone, I continued. Vortan has destroyed many kingdoms. There are others like us, survivors, rebels, those who dream of freedom. We will find them. We will unite them. And when we face Vortan, we will face him as an army of the liberated. Part 4. The Road to Justice. I spent the next 6 months traveling across the land. Everywhere Vortan's shadow had fallen, I found people ready to fight. Enslaved miners who smuggled weapons in secret. Displaced nobles whose kingdoms had been annexed. Common farmers whose families had been torn apart. Word of me spread like wildfire. Stories of my powers grew with each telling, some true, some exaggerated, but all serving the same purpose. They gave people hope. By the time autumn arrived, I commanded an army of 5,000. We were not professional soldiers, but we were united by purpose and driven by rage. And we had something Vortan's mercenaries did not. We had faith that the gods walked with us. The confrontation came at the foot of the Mountain of Crowns, where Vortan had built his fortress, a dark citadel constructed with the bones of conquered peoples. His army numbered 10,000, well-armed and battle-hardened. The night before the battle, I walked among my people. I touched the shoulders of nervous warriors, spoke words of comfort to the fearful, and prayed to the gods who had chosen me for this burden. I asked them for strength, not for myself, but for all those who had suffered. When dawn broke, our two armies faced each other across a valley stained with the blood of previous battles. Vortan himself rode forward, a massive man in black armor, his face cruel and weathered. "So you're the girl who thinks herself chosen by gods," he called out, his voice dripping with contempt. "Your people should have given me what I wanted. Instead, they chose death. Now you will join them." I stepped forward, and as I did, I felt power radiating from me like heat from a forge. The air itself seemed to shimmer. "You took my father. You took my home. You took the lives of thousands who wanted only to live in peace. Today, the gods will have their justice." Vortan laughed. "Let your gods come then. My steel has never failed me." The battle began. It was chaos, the kind of chaos I had seen once before on the day Ashara burned. But this time I was not running. Swords clashed against swords. Arrows darkened the sky. Men and women fell on both sides, and each death weighed on my soul. But wherever I moved, the tide turned. I healed the wounded with a touch, giving them strength to fight again. When Vortan's cavalry charged, I raised my hands and the earth itself rose up, throwing horses and riders into disarray. When his archers fired, I created shields of shimmering light that deflected their arrows. My people, seeing my power, fought with renewed courage. We pushed forward, step by bloody step, driving Vortan's forces back toward the fortress. Finally, I stood before Vortan himself. His sword was drawn, his armor dented and bloodied. Around us, the battle raged, but it was clear which side would prevail. "You cannot win," I said, my voice carrying both sorrow and certainty. "Your reign of terror ends today." Vortan charged with a roar. But I raised my hand, and light exploded from my palm, pure, divine energy that struck him like a thunderbolt. His sword shattered. His armor cracked. He fell to his knees, the arrogance finally leaving his eyes, replaced by fear. "Mercy," he gasped. "I beg you. Did you show mercy to my people?" I asked quietly. "Did you show mercy to the thousands you enslaved, worked to death, murdered?" I placed my hand on his head. Energy flowed through me, not to kill, but to judge. In that moment, I saw everything he had done, every cruelty, every decision made out of greed and lust for power. And I let him see it too, let him feel every moment of suffering he had caused. When I released him, Vortan collapsed, not dead but broken, his mind shattered by the weight of his own evil. "Take him to the mines," I commanded. "Let him spend the rest of his days doing the work he forced upon others. Let him remember what he has done." Part 5. Coming Home. With Vortan defeated and his army scattered, the kingdoms he had conquered began to reclaim their freedom. My coalition did not splinter, Instead, we formed a council of free peoples, dedicated to ensuring no tyrant would ever rise again. But for me, there was one more journey to make. I led a procession back to the ruins of Ashara. The village was overgrown now, nature reclaiming what fire had destroyed. But the land was still there. The sacred mines still existed, and the memory of my people remained. Standing in the square where I had once drawn water, where my father had fallen, I spoke to those who had followed me home. We were broken here. We were scattered.
But we did not die.
Today, we return not as victims, but as victors. Today, we rebuild, not just Ashara, but something greater. A kingdom where the weak are protected, where justice prevails, where no one will ever again suffer as we suffered. I placed my hands on the scorched earth, and power flowed from me. The ground trembled. And then, impossibly, green shoots began to emerge from the ashes. Flowers bloomed where blood had been spilled. Trees grew where homes had burned. My people wept. Tears of grief for what was lost, tears of joy for what was being born. I became the first Queen of New Ashara, a kingdom built not on conquest, but on unity, not on fear, but on hope. I ruled with wisdom and justice, always remembering the girl I had been, the girl who had lost everything and found within herself the power to restore not just a kingdom, but the very soul of her people. And in the years that followed, when travelers asked about the young queen who commanded divine power, my people would smile and say, "She was sent by the gods." But more than that, she was one of us, and that made all the difference. That is my story. From the ashes of destruction, we rose. From the depths of despair, we found hope. And from a girl who knew nothing of power, the gods made a queen. The end.